Right now, filmmakers have the ability to create massive amounts of leverage, and not just in terms of their inputs and outputs, but in terms of the types of deals that they can carve out with streamers, with studios, with distributors, and with sales agents. If you don't know who I am, my name is Alexi Uzas. For the past 8 years, I've been producing feature films. I've produced or EP'd 12 features up to this point. I've helped a bunch more go into production. And today I run a production company called Exile Entertainment, and we're based in Australia. So in this video, I want to take you through why being a solo filmmaker and setting up your life and your business in that way is really the best model that I've found in order to advance your filmmaking career. So I'm going to take you through what the benefits of running your kind of business and life like this are. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I realized that actually this is the best model, and kind of all the ups and downs that I had along the way over the last 8 years trying lots of different business models. And then I'm going to give you 3 steps. So 3 steps that you can take to kind of transform your business into this type of model if that's what you decide to do. And I highly recommend you do it. And by the end, hopefully I've convinced you. So let's talk about the benefits. So the real key benefits of setting up your business and running it in this way is that it gives you the most amount of time to make films. So if your priority is to produce feature films or write and direct feature films, then you need a business, something that's going to sustain you, something that's going to create income for you while your career gets going, right? Because it's going to take some time for you to be able to walk into the room at a studio and get a check written for your film, right? There's not many people in the world that can do that, even at the highest level. So you're going to need to generate income. So then it becomes a question of that trap of like, if you've got a business that you're running and it's generating income and it's growing, then the time that you have to spend on films just starts decreasing. On the flip side, if you've only got time and you've got no money, well, that's super stressful, and stress is not, that conducive to them being able to create good work either. So we're always trying to find this balance between the two. And so the reason I think running it as a solo company, a solopreneur on your own, is that you've got low overhead. So your costs are really low, which means that basically all the revenue that you're generating, you're going to be able to put in your pocket to live and to survive. And so your profit margins are going to be really high, and it's just going to give you that kind of freedom or lack of stress that you need to then focus on your projects. The next is it's flexible, right? You can work remotely. So if you want to travel, if you want to go location scouting, if you want to do these other things, you can really work from anywhere. And so it gives you some great flexibility. Next is, and this one's really important, is that you can determine your own schedule. So if you work for yourself and you don't have other obligations like a workplace to be at or employees to manage, then really you can set your own schedule because you're only answerable to your clients. And the reason this is great is that obviously it gives you time to spend on your creative projects, but it also gives you time to spend with the people that you love. And so you're able to then create this environment where you're doing all the things that you want to be doing. You're making money, you're spending time with your family, and you're making films. The next one is that you are able to focus on building an audience. So this is something that, obviously I've got this YouTube channel, right? So it's something that I'm focused on, but up to this point, it's kind of been really haphazard. But a few things have kind of happened in the last few months, or I've seen in the last few months, where I've just seen that people that own their audience, they are able to really own their distribution. And the problem that we have as filmmakers is that we don't own distribution. Often we get to the end of the film, we sign off the distribution rights, and that's it. They're like locked up for years and years. So by owning your audience and owning your distribution, I think a couple of things happen. Like, number one, particularly with a service business, you then have the ability to market your services to an audience and to generate leads and generate sales really quickly, right? So it's kind of just like supercharges your lead gen, and you're not having to spend money on ads, which is a cost, right? So that's one really important part. I think the other side of it is, if you've got a huge audience, you're going to be able to leverage that for crowdfunding, for raising private equity, And particularly with like going into deals with streamers or studios, if you've got this massive audience that's hungry for your content, you're going to be able to create better deal terms. And the best example of that is Tyler Perry, right? He had this massive audience that was already built in, and he went to Lionsgate and cut a deal with them. But he was able to get favorable terms because it was like, well, I've got this huge audience that's like hungry for this, so we know it's going to succeed. And luckily the executives at Lionsgate were smart enough to see that. So, but you only get that if you have the time to spend building an audience. And I think going back to the solo filmmaker is that's the key. It's you're creating as much time as possible to spend on these other areas to create this like holistic model. And then the last one is really just like your emphasis is on sustainability rather than growth. And so like one of the main reasons that I was kind of building the wrong business, I think, in my career is actually chasing these shiny objects, right? Like chasing this concept of growth or scale. I think that you can really get sucked into those things. And what ends up happening is if you're chasing growth or scale, you're just taking on these additional costs. So it could be new employees, it could be ad expenses, it could be new office, like whatever it is, you're just taking on these costs. And then in order to support those costs, you've got to generate more sales. And to generate more sales, you've got to get out there and do heaps of sales and heaps of marketing. And then you're no longer doing the work, you're doing these other things, but you're kind of then on a hamster wheel. And if your company doesn't really get that traction, then it becomes, like I said, a bit of a hamster wheel. But even if it does get the traction and it starts growing, well, now you've got more people to manage and more expenses to manage. So for me, it was really about just chasing the wrong things. And the interesting thing is when I first left my job as a lawyer 8 years ago, I was doing this solopreneur thing, right? Like I was consulting to companies, I was doing marketing consulting to companies, I was doing some freelance legal work, and I was working like 4 days a week. I was freelancing for a film distribution company as well, so I was kind of getting to know distribution. And so I would work 4 days a week, generate my income, and have a full day a week to spend on producing films. And that's how I produced the first few films that I made. And then it was only when I got sucked into like starting a distribution company, launching a short film streaming service, trying to grow a production company where we did like 4 feature films in 1 year. Like if you're listening to this and you've had these ideas, like that's normal. When you get started, you get really excited by these things, but ultimately they're not really the things that are going to serve the purpose, because the purpose is just making films. If that's what you want to do, if you want to make films, if you want to write, direct, or you want to produce feature films, your number one priority needs to be that. And so I've kind of come full circle now on this, but that's why I really believe that is the best business model, because I've seen it work twice. So another reason that I think I went down the wrong path is also just chasing the wrong metrics, right? So there's the great saying, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash is king. And in a lot of those businesses I started, I always thought that really what I was trying to achieve was cash flow, right? I was trying to find ways to generate consistent cash flow, because projects like feature films, you only get paid when that thing gets financed, and you might only be making a film every year or 2 years. So your income is really lumpy. And so I was always thinking of like, how do I create cash flow as I go? But what I was doing incorrectly is then actually chasing revenue. So I wasn't aligning what I was doing with what I was thinking, right? I was thinking cash flow, but actually to have a really great cash flow business, all you need to do is to deliver a service, do it consistently, have good lead flow, have a sales system set up, and you can have money really coming in from day one, and your expenses are really low. So really the ideal cash flow business is something like that, where it's low maintenance in terms of operational and managerial costs and time. You've got the cash flow coming in, and then you have the time to spend on your projects. And then the last thing that I did incorrectly is, I think I've kind of touched on this, but it's just getting sidetracked and not really understanding what that North Star is. And I think like things like North Star, mission statement, values, like they can be fluffy things, but I don't think they have to be, right? So now I've just tried to simplify those 3 things down so that they're really practical and really pragmatic. So it's like North Star is just like make high quality films. That's it. really simple. Values: cash flow, mastery, and leverage. And I'm going to take you through those three things in a second. And the last one is really just understanding that, those are the three. And then the last thing that I wanted to go over is the mission. So that's really just help more filmmakers produce their films, right? Help more filmmakers execute their vision. So those are three just really practical things. And what I can do at that point is I can really make sure that I'm then aligning everything I do with those things. So I want to make sure that anything that I'm doing in my business is aligning with cash flow. Is it cash flow positive? Is it contributing to mastery? So am I doing the thing? So am I, like, for me, it's executive producing, right? Like, that's the consulting that I do, but that's directly correlated with producing. The more I executive produce, the better I'm getting at producing as well. So it's contributing to mastery. And then the last one is leverage, right? So building that audience, having the time to build that audience so that you're gaining leverage along the way. So that's kind of like where I've landed on everything and this model, and I'm taking you through it today on this video because it's hopefully going to be instructive for some people who are out there who might just be getting started, or maybe you're a whole way in and your business is running in a way that it's not really conducive to allowing you to make feature films. And so these are some of the changes that you might be able to make. So I'll take you through the 3 steps that I went through and that you can go through as well. So number 1 is pick up a book called Profit First. So Profit First, that's what it's called. It's going to, it's a real shock when you read it and you do the financial audit. It's kind of like the brutal reality is just staring you in the face, but it's going to give you a really good snapshot of the health of your business, and it's going to make you realize straight away where you need to cut costs, right, in order to make that thing profitable and sustainable. And while it's called Profit First, actually within the book, the focus is on cash flow. The second thing is redesigning your offering. So if you're running a business or you're offering services and you did that first and now you're trying to fit your film projects within those services and offerings, then you've done it the wrong way around. So what you want to do is think about what your ideal week would look like where you have time to spend on your films, and then design your offer around that, right? So you want to get really clear on what is going to give you the most time, energy, and headspace to be able to work on your projects. And for me, like I said, it's executive producing, right? I'm able to provide a service, so I'm not trying to sell a product. I have done that in the past as well, right? But right now it's just, you can hire me, I can do this work, I get paid, you're happy with the service. Like, very simple, done for you service. And it, like I said, it creates cash flow because it's super low cost and you're getting paid before you do the work. It contributes to mastery, like I said, and then it creates leverage because I'm able to spend time making videos like this. So have a real think about what is the offer that you can make, and think about the price point, right? Price is really important. Obviously, the more you can charge, then the less clients that you need. So you want to get really clear on that offer and decide what is the best offer that's going to allow me to make films. And then the final one is implementation. So for me, it still took me way too long to implement it. It took me months and months, really. I got through stage 1 really quickly, stage 2 really quickly, but then implementation, it just took me ages because I was putting up all this resistance, and there was just, I think, these internal things that I just had to grapple with and deal with in order to effectively implement the plan. So those are the 3 steps. If you are looking for a way to have more time to spend on your projects, on your films, then I'd recommend going through this. And even if you don't want to fully embrace the solo filmmaker thing, if that's too hard, you've got a business partner, maybe it's about comping your head count or dropping your costs somehow. You can still do this as a team. For me, just looking at the company, the business that I was running, it made the most sense, right? And so I'd encourage you to think about these things as well. So that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Haven't done one in a while. It's been a few months. So thanks for tuning in to the channel. If you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.